Hi there, this is John Frenay, and welcome to an Encore presentation of our Legacy Business Spotlight. These are best done in person, and with the current state of emergency restrictions, that's just not possible. So we will be re-releasing our past episodes every Saturday at noon until this pandemic is in our collective rearview mirror. Until then, enjoy this Encore presentation of our Legacy Business Spotlight.
Some businesses succeed. Some don't. Then there are those that seem to have been around forever. The true entrepreneurial success story. How did they do it? What was their vision? What makes a success? In this special episode for Eye on Annapolis, we speak with the true success stories. Those business owners that have been around for decades. Learn from their successes and failures. Now, here's host John Frenay.
We're up here in, I don't know whether it's Severna Park or Arnold, but we're kind of on the cusp between the two at Lisa's Cakepops, which is tucked in behind the Severna Park bowling alley. And we're here with Lisa Schneiderman, who is the proprietress. I guess, is that the proper term for it?
I think so.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much for inviting me up here and actually learning a little bit about Lisa's Cakepops. And I really didn't even know this little strip existed. And there's a bunch of great little stores here. And it's the access is between the bowling alley and like the little center that has like Tuesdays morning. And it just wraps behind there. But Cakepops, I mean, who can resist Cakepops? I don't think anybody can. As I'm sitting here looking around going, just sort of salivating as I go. But how long have you been here and how did this all start?
And I started out of my home kitchen as a home baker and started baking and discovered Cakepops. A few years after that, our family moved to Maryland about 5 years ago, and you're not allowed to be home-based in Maryland. So I was able to find this kitchen, and I worked with a cake designer, and she retired, and I took over the kitchen about 2 to 3 years ago. And last March, we opened up as a storefront.
Okay, so you're in Maryland, you're not able to be a bake-at-home business?
You weren't at the time.
Okay.
You weren't at the time. The laws are changing now.
Interesting. How about that? Now, okay, I've got to ask you, are you a California native?
I'm in New York.
Okay, so are you an East Coast girl or a West Coast?
I'm an East Coast girl.
Okay. Where did your interest in baking come from? Was this just a hobby or?
I had my son later in life, and when he got to be around 10 or 11, I was looking for something to do. And I had baked as a child here and there with my mom, and it just kind of stuck in my head. And so I started baking, brownies, cookies, things like that. And I would just Google all kinds of recipes. I always wanted to make something a little more off the beaten path, more candy, more chips or something like that. And Cakepops were just starting to come out, or as cake balls. And I discovered them and that you could decorate them. And that's where my interest lay.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I mean, Cakepops certainly weren't a thing of my childhood.
Right.
And I mean, I've only realized them in probably the past like 3 or 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now they're like all the rage. For those that are listening, describe what is a cake pop?
A cake pop is basically cake, either mixed with frosting or not, that is shaped into a ball and dipped in chocolate and then decorated.
Okay.
That is the generic version of a cake pop.
So it's sort of like a little.
It's like a cupcake dipped in chocolate.
Very neat. And you do your baking right here in Severna?
We do our baking. We do everything on premises. Yeah, we bake everything. All our cakes, all our frostings are made from scratch. I
would almost say that anybody can follow a recipe and bake, but I mean, I'm looking at some of these and they're just so beautifully decorated and whatnot. Is that just a?
I have no explanation for that. I mean, I just think,
I love that.
I just think my mind tends to go there, and I'm always looking or thinking about how I can make or design the next cake pop, and that's what I love about them. No two cake pops has to be the same, no order the same, and I don't know. I see things sometimes, and I'm like, that would be a great cake pop, or those would be great colors.
That's neat. Well, it's funny. You look at the popularity of, in part to some television shows, but like Georgetown Cupcake, or Bacon Wired in D.C. And I for one, I'm not a line person. So when I go to Georgetown Cupcakes and I see a line around the block, I'm like, oh hell no. But I have had them, and they are so good. And I've had Cakepops before, and I've had, I'm sure I've had yours, but I just probably didn't know it.
Oh.
They're good, they're quick, they're a treat, they're easily consumed, they're not real messy because they're on a pop.
Right, and they're the perfect bite. We hear that all the time, that people say it's just the right amount for a dessert or a snack or for a child or at a kid's party, and it's contained, you can eat it, you're done, and you feel satisfied, and you don't have anything left over, and the perfect bite.
Who is your customer for Lisa's Cakepops?
Who is my customer?
Yeah, I mean, who is your typical customer that comes in?
We have a varied amount of customers. We have a lot of kids that come in. We do birthday parties at the shop. I do a lot of corporate branding, edible image logos on Cakepops. We do wholesale. We work with the catalog, and we do a lot of Cakepops for various holidays for them. And, people now have gotten so creative. And they're constantly looking for fun ways to theme their parties. So they come to me and say, I would like this, and we're like, okay.
Well, I was at a wedding not too long ago where the wedding cake was actually Cakepops.
Oh yeah, right.
And I'm trying to remember what it was, but I think it was probably a cardboard or some kind of a tiered thing with the little holes in it, and the pops were made it, which was just absolutely neat. You do birthday parties here?
We do birthday parties, and we do cake pop classes. We host birthday parties where we basically show the kids how to make cake pops from start to finish. We start with cake, and we take them through the frosting and the steps, and then they dip their own cake pops. Everybody gets about 10 sets of sprinkles, and then they decorate them, and then they take them home in a 6-pack. It takes about an hour, and they have a great time.
Sitting here looking at these just wonderful designs. You've got Sesame Street, you've got stars, you've got navy, you've got cakes, the taco, and everything else. Do you have to order 1,000 of those to get like custom ones, or are they available in smaller quantities, or?
No, our custom cake pops typically start at around a half dozen to a dozen, depending on if you're ordering one design. But some people like, 3 or 4 designs. We did the Sesame Street characters with 3 characters. You'd need more of a dozen would be a minimum for that.
Okay, and what if we're not living right here in the 800 block of Ritchie Highway and want a cake pop? How do we go about that? Obviously, we can go to the website, we can order it and come in here and pick it up.
Go to the website. If we've shipped to Southern Maryland or Western Maryland, if need be, or for a delivery fee just to cover our to and from, we can deliver to different locations.
I suppose you're shipping stuff. You've got special containers, so
we would have special containers in the summer that might add to the shipping costs because you need a styrofoam and you need ice packs. But in the winter months, we're fine with that. We don't need that.
And they're such that they're not jostled, or?
We pack them very specifically and very snugly in their box so that they don't jostle back and forth.
Where's the farthest you've ever delivered?
Washington State.
Right, and you mentioned about the corporate logos and whatnot.
Yes.
Now is there a machine that?
Yes. There is an edible image printer, and we have a special paper that's edible, and the ink is edible. And then I size it and add it on like a sugar disc or a piece of chocolate, and then it adheres to the cake pop that's already been
formed
made. And dipped and whatever. And then,
because I know I saw I guess it was Fado for the Annapolis Film Festival. They had they were able to put their logo in the top of the foam of a Guinness beer.
Right. Oh, and probably something very similar.
I thought it was very cool.
Yeah.
Corporate things. I mean, these sound like perfect gifts for the holidays for companies that are giving
companies, right? And a lot of part of the Severna Park Chamber. A lot of people like to brand themselves, so they put their logo on the cake pop. We will attach a business card to it. They can use it for marketing or basic networking. And any other reason that you would possibly brand yourself, it's different. It's not what people are used to doing for branding, and it's delicious and it's memorable. So people will use it to brand their company, and they'll be wasn't they the one that gave me that cake pop?
I'm not going to have a cake pop sitting in my Rolodex for too long.
Right. But when you would open it, you would have to touch the card. You would look at the card. It's just that extra step to get someone's attention. And, most people don't think that cake pops could be used for something like that. Initially you might not think that, but a lot of people are like, I want that. I have branded cake pops there. A woman's having her grand opening at the chamber, her ribbon cutting. And so we branded cake pops for her.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you have a busy season, or are you, I'm assuming that cake pops are like ice cream. They're like good all year round.
Yeah. I mean, our Christmas season, Thanksgiving, you have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas all at the same time. We worked with this catalog. We did 6,000 cake pops for them last Christmas as one customer, in addition to the other things that we're working on. So we do the holidays in bulk. We have our birthday cake pops. They look like a birthday cake. And so we'll be making those as well. So that's kind of more on a regular thing. And then, I would say the summers are a little quiet.
And you said kids come in here and they'll just, buy one or two?
Just buy one or two.
Buy
one or two out of the case. People will come in for a dozen, or they'll order for a birthday party, or, a baby shower and stuff like that. People are very creative these days. I mean, they tell me what they want.
Yeah. Well, and then hence your creativity grows. Mm-hmm. Now, I almost hate to ask this question, but how many cake pops do you make in a year? Do you have any idea?
I know we've wondered that or whatever. I mean, we have to make, in the tens of thousands. If we did 6,000 for one order, and then and that was that, and then we did a couple for Easter, so it's got to be a lot. It's got to be in the tens of thousands.
Wow! And I'm assuming that you've got all sorts of different cake flavors. If you will. I mean, you've got the white cakes in the dark, and
right. We have strawberry and banana. We do cookie dough and cake batter and funfetti and cherry and just different flavors like that.
Well, I know I was on your website, which is lisascakepops.com. Right. And I noticed that you are big on the gluten-free.
Yes.
And
we have gluten-free chocolate and vanilla every day in the case. We can make any of our cake pop flavors gluten-free upon request. If somebody wanted gluten-free strawberry, we could do that. We could make that.
And another thing I noticed on there was that you're a nut-free kitchen.
We are a nut-free facility.
And you're talking about like peanuts and not the people that are cooking them, right?
Exactly. We say that all the time too. Exactly.
Which is big. I mean, peanut allergies have become a big hazard and a big thing for people, especially. And I know Carroll's Creek down in Annapolis
they have a nut-free.
Nut-free. And I was talking to Jeff about that. Mm-hmm. It was not just not having nuts in the place. It was talking to the suppliers that make the flour to make sure that they don't have nuts also made in the
premises
conveyor line and everything else. Yeah. That's quite an undertaking. And I think that, it sort of speaks to both his and certainly your, concern about your customers and what, the needs are of today's customer.
When we opened as a storefront last March, we had decided at that time when we set up our flavors that we would never add a peanut butter or a hazelnut or anything like that. And that, and it wasn't even the outcry of it, to have no peanuts is the way it is now. We have people coming in, I heard you were nut-free, and they want, my son is nut-free. And
nobody really misses it either. I mean, the poor peanuts.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
they killed Mr. Peanut in the Super Bowl, but it was but I mean, nobody really seems to miss it.
Right.
It's, yes, okay, they can add a little bit of something or other, but it certainly doesn't, I would never eat a cake pop and go, this really stinks without nuts. Give me a Big Mac or something. No, it's just not a conversation that I'm having.
Right.
How many people do you have working with you?
We, my husband and myself are the primary. We have another woman in there. She's decorating now, and someone else. So we're about a team of 4, sometimes 5, depending upon the crunch that we have.
So you're small but mighty.
Small but mighty. Yeah.
That's, and when does your day start? I mean, are you you hear about like bakers and stuff with this 4 a.m.
It's not, we have we don't bake every single day to make the cake pops, but I think we're here typically between 7:30 and 8 o'clock, but we are in the morning.
Right.
And then, we can be here anywhere from 6 to 9 o'clock, depending on what's going on. But on average, it's about
retail's brutal. What are your hours of the store for,
storefront hours? Okay, so we're Tuesday through Fridays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays we're open from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. We are closed Sundays and Mondays.
You got to rest sometime, I guess.
Well, we're here on Mondays. We're just
you're just not.
We're just not. Yeah.
So you have one day to rest.
We're here pretty much every day, my husband and I. So
is this the first business you've owned?
Yes. Yes.
So where's your background from? What have you?
I was 20 years on Wall Street in the 80s and 90s.
Ah, the good old years.
The good old years through the crash of 87 and the whole thing. So, and then at the end of that period of time, I thought, you know what? I've done that and I don't think I want to stay in it and go back. And I didn't expect to go back into the workforce. It wasn't on my mind that I would do something. But when I started doing this, a lot of people were like, hey, you should, these are good. I like these. You should think about doing your own business. Like, no way. And then it just evolved. And then I started it at home, and we moved here, and I thought, I don't want to stop this. I joined the Chamber of Commerce right away before I even had a kitchen, and just networked my way into finding a place that I could do the business.
So this was something before that had a kitchen, or did you have to build this kitchen?
No, this had a kitchen. The woman who had her cake business here, she built the kitchen.
Oh, okay.
But I just started renting in her kitchen. I mean, that's how it started about. Right. She rented space. So I stayed here all the time. And then when she left, I took over the space.
Okay. I've heard a lot of places are doing those common kitchen type things. So you were basically just coming in Wednesday afternoons from 3 to 6 just to do your cake or whatever it may have been.
Yeah. It turned into Monday through Saturday, right. but that was just me and how I wanted to do the business. But yeah, it's exactly how it started.
It's a brilliant way to do it, because then you can sit there and you can manage your growth. You can figure out whether this is sustainable, whether there's demand for it, whether there's a market for it.
I always felt when Cakepops were just starting and no one but Starbucks had them years and years ago, nobody knew what they were. They didn't know what cake on a stick, whatever. But people that I would see on the internet or Google or Instagram or whatever would design them. And I thought, this is going to hit. People are going to find out about that. Was my thought at the time.
Well, you seem to be right into it. Now, was this a West Coast thing? I mean, you said you were out in California.
No, we lived in California, and it wasn't West Coast at all. It wasn't West Coast at all. I think there was a woman named Bakerella who brought out the first book of Cakepops, either maybe in 2009 or 2011, and her book showed how you could decorate, a sheep and a robot and all different kinds of things. And so that started it. And so that's got to be about 10 years ago.
How stupid are we as humans that we never thought of this before 10 years ago?
I don't know.
It takes something around forever.
And then the decorating.
And we were just coming up with the little bite-sized pieces of cake just 10 years ago.
And now, everybody can see on, all the designs in Pinterest and all the different things, because there are tons of people that, make cake pops. And they say, I want a teal with a hot pink flower. I want, a zebra with pink stripes, or just some things like that are just, sure. And people say, this is, what can I do? What would you like? What do you think would be nice in this occasion? Or this is exactly what I want. Here's a picture. Can you replicate it? So we do either of those situations.
Very cool. Baby showers, wedding showers, I'm sure probably.
Baby showers, wedding showers, bridal showers, anything.
Birthday
parties,
corporate gifts.
We've done 2 funerals. I know that sounds odd, but people have catered a funeral and they've asked for cake pops. Anything can be a cake pop. Cake pops can be for any occasion. Each month, each period of time has its own different, kind of possibility for cake pops.
That's right. And now, do you work with caterers?
Yes.
Okay.
We do work with cake.
So I didn't know whether a bride would come. I mean, I'm assuming some brides do come to you.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And then others are working through a caterer that says,
caterer.
"Oh,
caterer
what do you
will
think
say,
about?"
I need this, and we'll say, sure, and things like that.
I gotcha. Well, that's where the networking and the local business community comes in. I do know that, you can buy absolutely anything online. It's all about shopping locally and supporting local business. And, I admire you and your husband for, taking the plunge and jumping into something like this. I think this is great that you've totally reinvented your life from what it was, which is fantastic. And it suits you well. I mean, I think it's making creative, wonderful things. This is a happy business, I've got to imagine, for the most part. Yeah. Except for that one kid that drops it when he gets out the front door or something like that.
We'd always give him another.
I imagine it's got to be therapeutic to you. Wall Street has to be a little bit of a pressure cooker.
Wall Street is stressful. When you call up and say, hey, I have stocks for you, you get hung up on. But you're like, hey, I have cake pops for you. Like, well, wait a minute. People will talk to you.
You found out the secret. Yeah. Now what you need to do is you need to take your cake pops back up to Wall Street and see if
Wall Street and brand all those firms
and see if that'll get in there.
But cake pops make people happy. And that's one of the things I like to do. I like creating them. I like looking at them when they're done and saying, wow, we took it from here to there. But it also, people just makes them happy. They eat them. They enjoy them. That's one of the reasons, the things that I like about doing this is hearing that feedback as well.
Right. Well, I do recommend everybody go to lisascakepops.com. Check out their website. Look at the wonderful deliciousness that's on there. But don't, as I'm looking around the shop here, is this called shop? Bakery?
The bakery.
I see that what's displayed on the website is just really touching the surface of the creativity that can be done. And, I do recommend, come on up if you're, interested in the Cake Pops, come on up to Lisa's Cake Pops. It's 836
Ritchie Highway, number 16.
Okay. And again, sort of tucked in behind the Severna Park Bowl. And if you've got an idea, and I think this is fantastic for corporations and client appreciation gifts or holiday gifts that may, come around at Christmas time. And it makes people smile. A lot nicer than a ham. that you make ever, and certainly a fruitcake that nobody just uses for anything other than propping open a door when the weather gets warm. Take a look at them. If you've got some creative ideas, you can come on up here, run them past Lisa, tell you whether it can be done or not, can't be done, and more chances than not, probably it can be done. I would imagine.
I never say no.
What's the most unusual design or request that you've had?
Well, we've made a taco. I have made Muppets from.
Okay, so that when you say a taco, would that be the pop itself would be shaped like a taco?
I can show you a picture. But yeah, so the pop itself, you have the chocolate as the meat, and you have lettuce and, what the cheese is and the taco shell. And that would be, you do something like that.
Okay, so yeah, just learn something new.
Yeah.
15 minutes into this, I mean, I've only seen Cake Pops that are just generally round.
You can look through the book at the end and get an idea of some of the things. Yeah.
That's fantastic. What's the biggest order you've ever done?
6,000. And that was our order for Christmas. So we did 2 designs, 3,000 apiece. Of one was a 6 Santas, a 6-pack of Santas, and the other was a 6-pack of reindeer, snowmen, and Santa. That was the biggest one.
Very neat. How long does that take you to do?
It took about 2.5 months, and those were 12, 14-hour days at the end.
What's the time consuming to do?
I mean, the Santa was 6 steps. You had to we double dip all our Cake Pops. We don't just do a single cake pop. Every cake pop is double dipped in chocolate. So
is that a hand process?
Yeah. We dip everything.
So there's no big conveyor belt with
individuals rolling them out, baking them, rolling them, and then we're dipping them. And so one of the designs, it was a 6 process. It had to be dipped, then it had to be second dipped, then decorated, then sugar put on it. It was we do sort of like an assembly line. And then we just did other ones. And so it's time consuming, but this is what we do. This is what we signed up for.
Lisa'sCakePops.com, right here up in Severna Park. Lisa Schneiderman, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to digging into this 6-pack that I see sitting right here behind this microphone. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this special podcast for Annapolis. Please be sure to visit Annapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinions. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you your local news direct to your phone or tablet every Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Subscribe on iTunes or Google Play.